Quick side note as I feel just mildly irresponsible. I'm back, and it's time for a bike setup video. The audio on the last one about bags and racks and so on was a bit average, and by average I mean it was crap, so I apologise for that. We've got Teaser tomorrow, which is a bit of a shakedown ride for the Te Tawhio o Wanganui, which I'm organising. The point of a shakedown is to see how the setup works. Let's get into packing. I'm going to be running a seat bag. And in that seat bag I'm going to put my tent. Sleeping mat. First aid kit. First aid kit's reasonably basic, but one additional thing that I always carry in my first aid kit is loo paper. Worth the extra few grams, especially if you're away from civilization. I've wrapped the inner of my tent in the footprint, so if we do encounter rain or wet weather, that keeps my tent dry. Put my tent poles at the bottom, soft stuff at the front, the fly at the back, so that I can erect it fly first, and first aid kit at the back, which I hope that I won't need. Safety pizza, because I like to make it home safe. My tent is the Big Agnes Copper Spur 2-person. I've had that for about 3 years or more, and it was only in the most recent trip that I realised the poles will fit in my seat bag, getting them out of everywhere else that was really ugly and making me regret buying the non-bike packing version. So next, handlebars. In here I like to put soft stuff, really compressible things. One of the reasons I don't have my tent up front is because the narrower I can make my handlebar roll, the better the aerodynamics, and just means a little bit less work. One of the tricks that I've learned over the time is lay all your gear out with what you're carrying it in. Take a photo. When you come back from a trip, lay it all out again and put to one side anything that you didn't use. It's a good way of identifying the things that you don't need without forgetting things that are important, because as the old story goes, any fool can be uncomfortable. But nothing sucks more than waking up in the middle of the night wearing all of your clothes and still being freezing, and I've been there. Time to pack this up, get it on the bike and see what we've got left. This may change in future videos, but this is the way I like it currently. Quick side note as I feel just mildly irresponsible. It rains out there, so yes, I am indeed taking a jacket, and that typically lives on top of my seat bag or on top of me, depending on what the weather's doing. And sleeping bag liner. Nothing quite like fresh socks for sleeping in. Long johns, a merino for at camp, shorts so that I'm not just walking around in long johns, cheap, small and probably not all that warm or light down jacket, soft shell pillow, 68 grams of pure comfort, a towel, and a buff works as a beanie, neck gaiter. Takes up no space but that little bit more comfort, so throw that on the bike. I have a handlebar mounted light because sometimes you just find yourself in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night, and that is quite handy to have. So with handlebars and seat bag loaded, I've got clothes, I've got sleep set up. That leaves food and hydration, probably most important parts to remember. In my pot, got a tea towel, that stops the gas rattling, make sure you've got enough gas, and fire steel and stove. Something to clean your pot with, lid on, dry bag. This dry bag keeps absolutely nothing dry, but it does keep everything together. Next comes food. It's just an overnighter, oats for breakfast, rice and tuna for dinner, the all-important coffee. If you've seen my coffee outdoors video, you'll know that I'm a big fan of instant. It gets the job done and does it well if you get a good quality instant. Food fits nicely in the frame bag. Don't forget your cooking utensils. Snap fold cup and plate take up no space and super light as well. They're also a bit more forgiving of the space constraints of a small frame bag such as mine. Tools also sit in my frame bag. Zip ties, multi-tool, puncture repair, and some tape. If you can't fix it with zip ties and tape, get out your fire steel, start a fire and burn it, because it just can't be fixed and it's not worth taking home. Cables to charge your devices and a charger, especially if you're away for more than a night. And I also keep spare batteries for my headlamp, because they tend to go flat at the worst possible time. Little things generally won't need till I get to camp, but there's enough space to stash a few snacks and treats. But speaking of snacks and treats, Cliff Bar, I like to carry an energy gel for those times that you just hit the wall. That'll dig you out of a bit of a hole. Top tube bag, cramp stop is a lifesaver. If you get asthma, that's probably going to be a lifesaver as well. And butt butter, some sort of chamois cream or otherwise, because after hours or days in the saddle, things can tend to get a little bit rough, and that'll make things a whole lot more comfortable. Keys, a knife, and my wallet. Little things that you want on the go because you want your electronics to work. I also carry a Cedar Summit waterproof phone case, which I can still operate my phone through even when it's raining, which is great if you're using your phone for navigation. Let's swing this around. Frame bag has two sides to it, just like every good story. A bike lock, because I don't like walking home from the dairy. Sunscreen, because I'm white and pasty. And a spanner. Those with the keen eye will have noticed that my roll-off, my rear hub, has a through axle without a quick release. So I need a spanner. Make sure you go through your tools and know that you've got every tool you need to be able to get yourself out of trouble on the trail, and know how to use them. Which lastly leads me to get a pump on the bike and a spare tube. Ideally, it's not a bad idea to have two spare tubes, because things can go horribly wrong. And regardless of the fact that I'm running tubeless tyres, spare tube, because sometimes you'll get cuts in sidewalls that you cannot fix with zip ties, $5 notes, and sheer determination. So that can get you out of a bit of a situation as well. A little bit of extra weight, but it's also a good insurance policy. So the only thing left for me to put on the bike is some freshly rested legs and some water. Highly recommend putting some form of electrolytes in your kit to be able to put in with your water as well. And also, don't underestimate the benefits of preloading with electrolytes in the couple of days leading up to a big ride. It's better to have all those essential salts, your potassium, magnesium and so on, at a good level before you start. Otherwise you're straight away on the back foot and you're ending up with cramps, dehydration and all the other nasty stuff that just makes the first day suck, and potentially the days after that as well. Tomorrow, going to jump on the bike, head on down to the start point, see who turns up. This might just be a one-day shakedown of about 90k, or it might be cracking all the gear out tomorrow night, having a bit of a chill out at a campground, and then riding home the next morning. But either way, really good to be back on the bike. If you haven't seen my recent video where I did a trip upriver, camped out for a night and rode back with my brother, that's up now as well. There'll be a link in the bio or something. So I will see you on the next one, or if there's something worth reporting back after this trip, then continue watching. Loving this newfound enthusiasm for being on the bike. Let's get on down and see who is joining me for Te Tawhio. Good shakedown ride's always going to identify problems like this one, losing bottles off the forks on corrugated gravel descents. How are you? What the camera doesn't capture is the glimpses through the trees down into the valleys. Just absolutely stunning. Things that you miss when you're in a car as well.